Morning everybody, it's Chris here from Serene Education with the 4 major standards update for the 23rd of August 2011. Hi guys, just be looking at the Euro against US dollar first and our 4 major standards update for this morning. Okay, so we know on a daily we have a definite resistance level above us. You can see the price has failed to move above these areas at certain points along the way, and this consolidation range to the side. We know roughly that there's a support resistance level around the 1400 mark, and just recently, as I mentioned, you can see the price has been to the upside and it's now being squeezed between points. We have a higher swing, which happens to be higher than that, and that one's higher than that, so we have this little up move from the 1400. So consolidation has been sideways. However, just recently we have seen price moving tentatively to the upside. A lot of indecision, a lot of volatility in the past 2 weeks or so. Noticeably, we have tested this resistance level and price has failed to materialize and trade higher. We've had the spinning top after a bullish up run followed by a bearish Arami spinning top and then a bearish down candle followed by upside movement. This is all in the same area. Price is wanting to move higher, but very tentatively. Yesterday's candle, almost an exhaustion candle of some sort. Going into the Japanese market this morning, going into the European Open, we've seen price trading higher, so engulfing yesterday's trading range to start with. This exhaustion, a lot of wicks here, so tentatively, are we going to see another a failure at resistance? We could very well see that. There's a lot of news out this morning, especially for the European sector. We have 7 o'clock this morning GMT. We have trade balance figures for the Swiss franc, which are very bullish. Previous figure was 177, the forecast 183, and chief is 283. So very, very bullish trade balance figures for the Swiss franc. Other news today, we have 8 a.m., lots of news at 8 a.m. for European, the French flash manufacturing PMI results, French flash service PMI results. They're expecting a slightly lower figure than the previous, so expecting a downgrade. European, German flash manufacturing PMI and flash service PMI results at 8:30. They're again also expecting a lower figure than the previous. We also have 9:30 the mortgage approvals rate, which seems to be slightly higher than the previous figure. So 31.7 thousand. They're forecasting 32.3. So that's slightly higher. That could be interesting for sterling. Then we have the German economic sentiment, which is quite a very strong piece of news out at 10 a.m. The previous figure was -15. They're expecting -24, so they don't expect great figures there, excuse me. Then we have some retail figures for Canadian later this afternoon, and then trade balance figures later on this evening at 11:45 p.m. GMT for the New Zealand dollar. So a lot of news here, most of it negative. If somehow we can get some positive stuff out of there, we might get that upside movement that we crave so much. Otherwise, we're just going to see a possible downgrade, and that exhaustion figures that we've seen over the last couple of days definitely coming into fruition, and we could see price falling lower. Price on intraday, hourlies, 4 hour, you can see price is still forming lower swings. So this high here is on par with that one, which is on par with that, but it's still lower than that. So we're still seeing lower highs as that consolidation occurs. 4 hour will give us an idea of all that volatility we've seen recently, but nonetheless we are seeing lower highs in this range here. So we need to see price trading above at least 14,500 to start with, but ideally if it can be trading above 14,500, then we're definitely going to be seeing that upside move. And by trading above those levels, then we can definitely say that price is looking for further upside movement, and overall we should be looking for a continuation to the upside. However, as we're trading below this resistance level on the daily, we should still look for possible consolidation to the downside, because we've seen it in the past. Notice to be there. So until such time as we're seeing a break and trading above at least the 14,500 or 14,500 mark, then we should still be looking for possible downside movement in this consolidation. On to sterling against the US dollar. Here again, this is only more positive than its European counterpart. We have seen price pulling back off, noticeable pullback. I did mention that 16,500 would be a support area. We noticed that price actually didn't close lower. It traded slightly lower, but it managed to hold its weights above the 16,4500 mark. And I mentioned if it keeps doing that, we could see that possible bounce. We have seen an upside move. We've seen a consolidation, and we're testing this area at 16,4500. 38.2, if we can see a bounce there, yes, then great, even better. You tend to find price tends to pull back to the 38.2% before we see another extension. But overall, I mean, if we can stay above that 60,4500 mark, we could see further progression higher, as it's been a very strong support and resistance level in the past. So let's hope and see if price can bounce higher on any good news or favorable news. Mortgage approvals are meant to be quite good this morning. And then we have the industrial orders expectation, which is slightly lower. So it could be interesting to see. I think if the European news comes out a lot better than forecast, then we could see a rally to the upside. If not, then we could see a further downside move for this pair. If we look intraday, 4 hour for example, you can see price testing that 16,4500, a noticeable period of resistance in the past, and now support. We are starting to get these red arrows are confirming heads up, confirmation signals going, hold on a moment, Chris, there might be a change in sentiment here. So, I mean, in last resort, we're looking at 16,4500 to act as a support area. So, if it can, during the course of all this news this morning, you get through that and still be above this area, then we could see potential further bounce. I feel CTC is well extended in our favor. We are trading above a major resistance level, so as long as we can find support here, then fantastic, we can get those upside movements. Failure to do so, and we see price closing lower, especially on a 4 hour candle, for example. Notice there's a lot of wicks below it, but never close below. So important here again, never closed higher, shooting star, and price fell away. So very important to look for these. So 4 hour candle can stay above here during the course of the day, or close higher going into the US session this afternoon. Then it bodes well for further upside movements. Heads up, the next one is the US dollar Swiss franc. Still hugging the underside of 80. We've had it slight pull over. I mean, we know that the US dollar is at an all-time negative low against the Swiss franc. We've had beautiful, strong news for the Swiss franc this morning on trade balance figures, so we know the Swiss franc is very strong as everybody piles into it as a safe haven currency. And the Swiss government have been trying in its best to try and keep, or try and make the Swiss franc quite unpopular. It can't afford to have a very strong Swiss franc surrounded by a very weak Eurozone, primarily for trade figures, etc. like that. So it's been trying its best to try and alleviate all this upside movement on the Swiss franc, and the downgrade of the US dollar has not helped it. But the more and more we see this volatility and indecision as the current climate, trading climate, you're going to see further people just heading into it. We've seen commodity prices, especially gold, yesterday trading at $1,900 an ounce, really gaining a lot of strength in the past couple of weeks, almost gaining $400 in the past 2 weeks alone. So a lot of momentum on commodity prices as well as the safe haven currencies. We've seen the same thing happen on yen. We've seen the same thing on the US dollar, the Swiss franc. So, however, we've seen a resistance level. 5 days now of solid resistance. 6 days in particular, if you look at this candle here. So, clearly a setting level at the 80 mark. Price needs to be trading above that and well above the major downtrend in order to be still classified as bullish. I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're still going to see a rollover. We do need to see it punching higher, a nice bullish up candle. Until such time as doing that, then we're just going to see classic continuation, small range, as we've seen in the past couple of days, not really moving out of the blocks. I mean, you look at it now, it's trading at 78.50. You can see it's a clear indication of trading above that range now. It's consolidating in that box. It needs to get out of that. You can see at just the recent 78.50 mark, you can see there's definitely a clear support and resistance level in that area there. And then you can see the 200 period moving average now slowly moving in and trying to suppress it, this move. Oops, apologies. You can see the lower swings. So the high is getting lower as the 200 institutional moving average is being tested, and that happens to be around the 80. we want to see upside movement and break higher than 80 overall. So if we look at that on a 4-hour candle, there's a hell of a lot of resistance above it to try and push it higher. But the longer it sits at these high ends, there's a possibility of that. You would have seen price really fall off a number of days ago, but it's managed to hold its ground above those areas, and the longer it continues to do that, then there's a possibility of further upside movement. Trading along the 23.6 fib area, 50 period moving average coming to a hold now. On the 4-hour we have a blue, and the CTC is in our favor on a 4-hour, so heads up, we could see a possible punch higher. But if it breaks below the 23.6, closes lower than the 78.20 mark, then we should be looking for further downside movement. The last pair of the day is US dollar Japanese yen. As I mentioned yesterday, we've seen consolidation, and as long as we see this consolidation at the support area, then there's less likelihood of further downside movement and possible upside movement. Ideally, you can see indecisions, lows of spinning tops, dojis, breakouts just recently. However, price is still ranging around this area here. You need a bullish up candle, something with a bit of oomph in it, something with a bit of mustard in it to really push hard to give us an indication that the US dollar is gaining a bit of strength against the yen. But intervention, money system, you know, that we're trading an all-time low against the yen, and the US dollar, as long as it continues to be very negative in their country, and you'll still see this hemorrhaging slightly to the downside. Japanese government's going to try its best to try and stem that. Having a very weak US dollar is not favorable. It's not good for business, as we all know. They're quite close ties, so it needs a bit of heads up. Either we get a bearish engulfing here to really engulf all of this, so we had to confirm downside push, or we get a bullish up candle to really confirm that we're looking for further highs. Until such time as that happens, then there's pretty much nothing we can do for the US dollar yen at the moment now. So until that happens, it's the end of the analysis. So have a fantastic day. Make sure you trade the CTC correctly. Follow that up with great money management rules. Take your profits when they present themselves. It's far better to take consistent results than to take these one-offs. So if you can get consistent results as a trader, you're on the right track to being a successful trader. Until then, enjoy your time, enjoy your trading, and trade serenely.